invite Baroness Debbie Stedman-Scott to present her thoughts on leadership. Now, I know Baroness Stedman-Scott for quite a long time, certainly over 25 years. Many years ago, when we were in Oxford and learning another psychometric, Martin, and it was around how to bring out the best in our teams. And then our years did not pass again for a while, and then I went to join her on the board of Getting London Working. I met her in the IOD, we just walked in, and she was here, and so we reconnected, and then I joined her on the board of Getting London Working. She is just such a most amazing woman, Baroness Stedman-Scott, a true person who is just so deeply connected that you understand how relationships work. You are just so deeply inspirational in the way in which you connect with people. I tell you something as well, she knows how to get money out of people. She is very good in doing that. And I trust that you're going to give us some of that commitment in getting us some money to support the development of our leadership centers across the world. I am one of her trustees on Tomorrow's People, where she is Chief Executive of Tomorrow's People. Baroness Stedman-Scott, it is with great pleasure that I invite you, because I know right now you should be at number 11, and here you are.
Well, actually, ladies and gentlemen, I should actually be in the division lobby, the House of Lords. So if the government lose by 1, you'd better start saying those prayers, because I should be in trouble. Anyway, so good afternoon. It's good to be here, and a huge honour to be speaking at this launch of the Future of Leadership. I was going to declare, as I do so often, my conflict of interest in that I've known Neslyn now. We did meet in the Randolph Hotel in Oxford, and our work together has culminated in Neslyn becoming a trustee of Tomorrow's People, charity for which I've worked for 30 years. 10 years I've been the CEO, and that finishes on Friday. So anything I say, my chairman is here, Neslyn, he says they cannot sack me. There is nothing I can say that can get me at the sack in that terms. But what I would say, my experiences of Neslyn is she gets those eyes and they focus, and what's your best thinking? And you give it to her, and then she comes back again and says, what's your best thinking? And you really start to feel under the microscope. But in everything I've done in my dealings with you, and I commend her to the people in this room now, your integrity is bomb-proof, and you are held in the highest regard. I'm under no pressure to say things that people want to hear, but to speak openly, honestly, and to share with you what my thinking is in relation to leadership. By way of an introduction, something about me, nothing mind-blowing, but I am not an academic. You will not find me on the front page of Vogue. And I do not have a university degree. In fact, I didn't go to school very often because it did not cater for my needs. It was very boring, and I didn't feel entertained in any way. But I am absolutely focused and passionate about the work of Tomorrow's People. Why do we get up in the morning? Because we want to help people who have lost absolute hope, are in despair, and think life is always going to be as it is for them to get and keep a job. We believe passionately in Tomorrow's People that getting a job is the best route out of poverty, and it's the best way to get some dignity and destiny in your life. It makes me angry, that's the polite version, it makes me angry when people are told this is as good as it gets and you're lucky to have it like this. There are thousands of books written about leadership. They're written by clever, competent and hugely skilled individuals. They demonstrate good practice, show us how we can give shareholders fiscal return, maximise profits, drive monumental change through an organisation, and come out at the end richer, happier, and more successful. Exhausted or exhilarated, I don't know at the end of that. I'm not sure. But the focus I'd like to take on leadership today is around the notion of those people who actually think that life holds very little, if anything, for them, and to try and to concentrate on their destiny rather than our history, or their history. I've learned most about leadership at Tomorrow's People by getting it wrong, but I've tried, if I've made a mistake, not to make it twice in that sense. So let me share some of the journey of Tomorrow's People with you, some of its history. It was started in 1984. It was a time when there were riots, Handsworth, there was Toxteth, there was Brixton, and people were rioting because they didn't feel they were getting a fair deal from life. And the chairman and chief executive of Grand Metropolitan at the time, a man called Lord Alan Shepherd, he had a great view that if people were working, they wouldn't have the time or the inclination to riot. If they were working, they would have money in their pocket. They could make decisions about their life that they saw what they termed normal people making. And in fact, that if there was a healthy back street where these people lived, then we stood a chance of having a healthy high street. And so he, without any recourse to the board of Grand Metropolitan, put £250,000 into a charitable trust, found a man that was used to brewing beer, a man called Richard Mann, and said, stop brewing beer, go and start a charity that helps people into work. And it was just like that. It was quite inspired in that way. My father, he ran his own business. He was a furrier. He made fur coats. And it was in the days when that was probably politically acceptable to do that. And when he knew that I worked in an organisation that was linked to this great man, he was just in awe. Oh, he was always on. He'd say to me, does he give you any tips? Because this is Lord Shepherd giving me tips on the stock market, which he never did. Has he given you any tips? I said, yep. He's told me to work longer and harder. And that's really the mantra of the man. He was very clever, but he was very, very good at getting people to step up to the mark, to do things. And so for me, that demonstrated a real leadership in vision. And you've got to have some idea in your mind of what it is you're trying to do. You've got to have some vision of what it is that you want to achieve. And I think Tomorrow's People has been very clear to now in its vision going forward. When we started, youth unemployment was phenomenal. It was a real problem. And because of the vision of Lord Shepherd, a college in a certain part of the country, I won't give you its name, I don't want to do anybody down, they'd taken a contract from the government, but they couldn't make any money out of it, so they wanted to give it back. And so we were asked, as Grand Met Trust as we were then in, would we come to this college and take it over? And we went to the college, and it was my first day at work with the charity. And the principal of the college, my boss and I walked in the room, and he said to my boss, here comes the sugar daddy, the man who's going to pay all the bills because we can't make any money out of it. We found that we had 60 young people that we had to look after, and after 1 month, we had 200. And we had to go back to the government to get more contracts. It was taking sweets off babies. It was unbelievable. But all we wanted to do was do the right thing for them. So we helped youngsters get jobs. I had more mothers knocking at my office door than anything else, and they would come and say, can you help me with my son? He's driving me mad. And, you know, I didn't have any children. I didn't have any experience at all. But it was good, and we were able to help them get to work, stop some of the nonsense that they were doing, and make sure that they were independent and had destiny. And then, because I can't help it, we thought, why aren't we doing this for adults? Why is it only young people that are going to get help getting into work? So somebody told me that this man at Pedigree Pet Foods had got this really good idea about getting adults into work. So I went up to Milton Mowbray and spoke to him, and he gave me a paper and explained how he thought he would do this. So I came back, we got someone to retype it, tart it up a bit, and we took it to the government, and they gave us, Tomorrow's People, the first ever adult training programme. And so suddenly we'd gone from just looking after young people to looking after adults, and it went down a ball. And we were getting them into work, and it was just beautiful. I tell you, it makes your heart sing. And then after that, we kind of thought all the time we would do something, and then we'd say, but what can we do now? What can we do better? And I was at a conference one day, and a doctor stopped me, and he said, Debbie, could you help me with my heart sink patients? So I said, well, what's wrong with them? He said, well, every time they walk in my surgery, my heart sinks because I can't do anything for them. I've got nothing for them. And I know that if they could just get a job, it would make their lives better. So he said, can you put somebody into my doctor's surgery? And before I even thought, before I discussed it with anyone, I said yes. And he gave us a consulting room. And on his prescription pad, if somebody walked in that was a heart sink patient, he wrote on the prescription pad, a job with Tomorrow's People. He signed it. They came down to our room, and suddenly their lives were changed. It's a great thing. But at that time, we also realised that if we wanted to get other people to support this work and to roll it out, then we had to prove the value of it. So it's a bit like the shareholder reporting, you know, your return on investment, return on capital deployed. So we looked at this, and we had an independent evaluation done of this doctor's surgery work. My dear friends, we saved that doctor, for 200 patients, 34% of his antidepressant prescription bill because they didn't need them anymore. We saved the doctor 20% of his time with them, and we saved referrals to counsellors by 80%. So whilst our hearts were buzzing and our souls were joyful, thank you, we could actually demonstrate the value and the return of what we did. The other thing that we're doing right now, which again is probably one of the most beautiful things we've ever done, and this is around young people who are unemployed. I have to tell you, there are 764,000 young people in this country who don't have a job. 206,000 of them have been unemployed for 12 months. Now, I don't know what your experience of young people is, but it's pretty mixed, and some of it's very challenging. But I can remember working with a big manufacturing company in Oxford, and they wanted to take some unemployed young people into their factory. They'd always gone and pinched them from other employers. So they asked us to recruit, induct and integrate 12 young people into their workforce. So we got young people together. There was a competition. They had to show what they were worth to the employer, and they picked 12 young people. They then went for interviews with the heads of department, and they were allocated a job. Now, this is just unbelievable. We got this young girl, she's pretty bright, never had a job before, but she got the job of booking all the executives' travel at this factory, okay? So she was, I tell you, she died and gone to heaven. This was just unbelievable. She turned up for work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, and Friday she was nowhere to be seen. So my colleague got in a car, drove to where she lived, knocked on the door, and the girl came down in her PJs. She said, "What's the game?" And she said, "Well, I never went to school on Friday and nobody ever challenged me." So she said, "Well, up you go, get dressed, I'm taking you back to work," which she did. The next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, same thing again, round her house. Now, by this time, the employer's getting the hump. He's thinking, what's going on here? So we said, look, just bear with us. And she got dressed, she came back to work, and then the third week, she turned up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and she's still there. And that's what you can do when you can spend time with people, giving them the right direction. And so, for young people, we want to prevent young people getting into that position in the first place. And we, in conjunction with an organisation called Think Forward, have got our advisors, our coaches, in 14 schools in East London. And young people between the ages of 14 and 19 who are at risk of becoming neat, they get a coach from Tomorrow's People. And they're on your back the whole time, making sure their attendance is good, making sure they do their homework, and giving them great opportunity for work experience. I can tell you, in the first 3 years of that, 85% of the young people that we've helped have improved their attendance at school. 60% have achieved at least 5 GCSEs at grade A to C. And 96% of our young people are either in work, education or training. Now, this is beautiful. If we could do this for every vulnerable young person in this country, we would eradicate the NEET problem. We would save the Chancellor a fortune, and we're going to see him later, so we'll tell him all about that. And all at the cost of £1,250 per year for 5 years. You imagine, no young person on benefit. You've got to get this into your heads now. Before you go to bed tonight, you put your head on that pillow and just think of a world that we could live in, or a country we could live in, where no young person goes on benefit and gets to rely on it. And for me, this is the leadership of innovation. It is the hallmark of what we've tried to do. I just give you some case studies, I think, because it speaks loudest, it speaks volumes about what we're trying to do. Much is said about poverty in this country and about fiscal poverty. I doubt there's anybody, or there might be one or two, but I doubt there's anybody in this room with like a few bob every week more in their pay packet. But in this country, we have a poverty of hope, we have a poverty of aspiration, we have a poverty of inspiration, and my goodness me, we have a poverty of determination. Let me tell you about one young lady. She went home one day and her father wasn't there. And nobody would tell her where he was. So after 2 weeks, she broke people down, and they told her he'd gone to prison on 15 different counts and he wasn't coming out. And she couldn't believe it. So she was on the bus going to school, and somebody said, "Oh, your dad's gone down." And she just lost it. And she beat somebody up pretty badly. And of course, she was reported to the police and went up before the youth courts. And they said she was been so badly behaved she could not travel down her high street, either on foot or by a vehicle. So she could not get to college, she could not complete her education. Our colleague, went to the youth yacht team and said, if I get on the bus with her at that stop and get off that stop, and then in the evening I get on at that stop and get off at that stop with her, will you take the ban off? And they said yes. And she has not missed one day at college. She's passed her exams and she's now working. Okay? And it could have gone so much the other way. A young lad who was in a really lovely rural part of East Sussex, abused by his father. I mean, it's awful. And then kicked out and was living in a tent in the woods in this day and age. And so it was pointed out to us that this was the case, and our colleague again went to find him. We got him into some bed and breakfast to try and get a good roof over his head, try and make him feel loved and appreciated, and then we got him a job with a landscape gardener. The boss is so pleased with him, he's taken another 6 on, and this year, last year I should say, last calendar year, they picked up a gold at the Chelsea Flower Show. And for me, this is leadership in aspiration. It can work. So 30 years of determination at tomorrow's people. Yeah, we have to be professional. We have to show fiscal responsibility. But more than this, we have to be determined, and we have to give people, or create in them, this sense of it doesn't always have to be like this. Life may have been difficult for me, but in fact what people are really interested in is my destiny rather than my history. I'm just going to leave you some other things, because we do lots of good things, and we get up in the morning because we want to help people, do it to the best of our ability. But just in our 30-year journey, we have saved over £500 million in benefit payments, and we've increased taxation receipts, over 200 million. So the real business reason for what we do is beyond doubt. And of course, this comes from the leadership of determination. John Gardner said, the prime function of a leader is to keep hope alive. And that is what we try to do. So let's all do this for people. Let's all pile in to see what we can do to make life better for them. Not in a condescending way, but because people need employees with real determination in their workforce. And let them forget despair and let them realise their destiny. And I could wallpaper my whole house with people who've written to me saying, you can never do this, it never worked, you can't do it. It's rubbish, and that's the polite version too. So those who say it cannot be done must not stand in the way of those who are doing it. Thank you.